Hello everyone, welcome to the second part of the Unity AI tutorial series, and in this video we'll be covering constructors, public properties and a custom class, and maybe a couple of other fun little things here and there, getting us ready for our fishes to be swimming about in our scene. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you in a second. Okay guys, we're inside Unity and we're going to open up our AI spawner that we played about with last time. We're just going to play about, I'm going to make a custom class in here, maybe a constructor, and just muck about a little bit, get some techniques under our hat. Basically we'll get things ready for us to start spawning our little fishies and have them swimming around. Alright, so let's pop inside the AI spawner. Here we are inside our AI spawner from last time, and well, we had these two methods, the two ways of getting our list. We had the link and we had the normal way. Let's just get rid of the link one, I don't really need that because I'm using the other one. Okay, there we go, and we won't have you anymore. Okie dokie. So now that we've got that in place, I'm going to make now a custom class. It's going to be, hang on, let's move my headphones out of the way, make some space. Okay, public class and AI objects. It's not inheriting anything, so it doesn't need this mono behavior. Here we go, public class AI objects. So you could stick it in its own script, but I'm just putting it on the top of here. It's fine. That's perfectly fine. I don't know if that's actually naughty or not, but it works. So who cares? Who cares? It works. Alright, so I'm going to declare some variables. Basically, with this AI class, I'm going to make another list, well, an array this time, and it's going to have our AI groups, and they're going to show in the editor, in the inspector, and then we can set the values for our groups, and then when we press play, it'll automatically create these groups, and then the fishes will be inside those groups, and then they'll swim around. So you could have a group for puffer fishes and a group for clownfishes, and then you could use it for other things. You could use it for sheep and goats and stuff like that, you know, outside of fishes. So we're making something that we could use elsewhere later on. So for now we're using it all for fish. So let's, I also, because we want it in the inspector, we need to say system dot serializable. Okay, because we've got that in place now, it will show in the inspector whatever we stick in here, if we do put things in here that are serializable. So to start off, we're declaring our variables, declaring our love again, as we always do. And this time we're going to have some publics. So we have a public, like we could put here public string, and calling this public string name or AI group name. If I just close that off here, now I've got a public string AI group name. But that's not great, because that means that anything else can now edit this string, and I don't want to. I want only to be able to edit it from the inspector and from our class that we're going to be calling, and our constructor later that we'll make as well. So to do a little bit fancier, we'll have here, I have serialized field, and underneath we're going to have private string. And the way that we do with Ultimate Survival, he sticks M underscore in front of it, so to keep all of the privates together. AI group name. Look at that. Now, if I actually, if we looked at this in the inspector later on, we would see that we would have two variables now. We'd have this public string shown in the inspector, and we'll have this private string because it's serialized shown in the inspector. But we don't want that. We want now to protect this public string, so we've got get So now you can get it. You can get the information from it. We'll put curlies in there, and we'll get return. We're gonna return this value, and we need one of these in there. Oh, we don't need that anymore. Okay. So now basically what this says is we've got the public string, AI group name, so other classes and objects can now find this and get the value, and it's going to get, when you're trying to get the value, is actually getting this value, really. So it's not having anything really in there, it's just basically a fake variable, maybe you could call it, to really get this value. Isn't that clever? Yeah, it is clever. That basically means then that this is protected. You could do things like get and private set, which means that only this class could set it. Also works. You could do protected set. That means that anything that protected set, anything that inherits this class can set it, but we don't need any of that because we're just gonna use this value. Right. Let's do a bit of pause and paste. We'll stick a load more strings and variables and balls and shenanigans in there, and then we'll come back. Quick pause and paste, and now you see we've got a load more code. So now we've got a public game object, and this is a prefab. It's a game object. We're gonna stick our prefabs in there. It's got object prefab, and it's returning this m_prefab, which is this chap over here. And there's a load more stuff here just before we get into them, and you'll see that we've got a header, and that's AI group stats. So in the inspector, you'll have a nice bold header that groups all of these together very nicely. We've got that prefab we mentioned. Now we've got here range, and even though this is an integer, m_max AI, which is the maximum number of AI that we're going to allow in our group, I've got a range here of 0 to 20. Let's increase that to 0 to 30. So that's the maximum number of AI. And basically what that means is now we've serialized this integer in the inspector, and have a slider, and the slider, when you get all the way to the top, it will be 30, and if you get all the way to the bottom, it will be 0. So we've got here spawn rate. This is going to be an integer for might change it to a float later, I don't know. At the moment it's an integer for how frequent we'll be spawning AI, and this spawn amount, this max spawn amount rather, that's another integer basically to say that the maximum number of AI we spawn each time. And we'll just be random as we're doing it in our script later, but we're basically saying that you could say the maximum each time you spawn will be 5 or 10. So when you've got the spawn rate, every time it then spawns, we're going to have a random number from 0 to whatever this maximum number is that we've put in the inspector. Randomized stats, I put here a bool, so that in the inspector we can just tick it, and then all these variables will just get random values, so we don't have to worry about it. Anything that we're going to put in will be the name and the prefab. Now we've got all these in place. Let's go down here, just below where we had our list before, and now we're going to create our array of these objects. So we're going to go, let's go to dim and say create array from new class, and we'll say public. Grab that, there you go, public, and you're going to go square bracket, close square bracket, and I'm going to call this AI object, and then we say equals new, and then it's that again, that again, is it? And we'll say how many we're going to put in here, so let's close that off. So we're going to be, let's put 5. Okay. When you get into the inspector, because that's public, you'll see this in the inspector. We could say, you know, 10 or 1 or 15. We'll say 5. Okay, and let's just put another header, and got those in there, and we're going to call it AI groups settings. Yeah, there you go. So we've got a header here, and this will be, because we've got this now, this array, it will then generate 5 of these. So 5 of these in the inspector, and each one will start with a header, and then there'll be a load of serialized private strings, and then when they have a value, it will actually put that value into these public variables that we can then call elsewhere. Alright, let's click save, pop into Unity, and see if anything has exploded. Right, now we haven't seen any errors appear in the console, so that's good. Let's click on Lake. Oh, here's our waypoints from before. Now we've got AI group settings. A space I space object. Well, that's a bit ugly, isn't it? Okay. Lesson learnt. The way that Unity is now basically separating the words is by the first capital letter. Okay. Right, back inside here. Let's change that lowercase o to a big boy O. Wait for a second for the magic to happen. There you go. Now it looks a bit nicer, doesn't it? AI space object, let's open him up, and there's the 5 that we had. If we put that to a 1, say, if we put that to a 10, well, we get 10 of them. Put that back to the 5, and if we open them up, let's put it to 3, a little bit more manageable. You'll see that we've got the AI group name, and it was a string, was the first one. And the weird thing is this a bug or a feature? Put this one as a pufferfish, and you see that instead of saying element 0, now it says pufferfish. Isn't that odd? Very odd. Then we're going to drag our prefab in here. The max AI that we're going to have in this group is going to be 19. Spawn rate is going to be 7. You know, blah blah blah, and clownfish. See, doesn't actually do anything, but at least they're there. And shark. We have a shark in our little pond. 30 sharks. Right, now we've got these working and appearing, we should do something with them. Okay, back in our script, we're going to go void, and it's going to be, give it a name, what are we going to call this? Randomize Groups. Yeah? And we'll put that there for when it's ready. And now we're going to put a bit of code in here. Let's put some code. This is going to be method for putting random values in the AI groups setting. So randomize. Right, we're going to have a for loop in here. So we're going to say int I equals 0 at start, and I is less than, and we've got our object. Oh, hang on, here it is. Oops. Object dot count, and then one of those, and then I plus plus. Okay, that basically now it's saying that I is what we're starting our loop at, and that's 0, and we're going to keep our loop going for as long as I is less than the total number of objects we have in our AI object array. Every time we loop through, we're going to add I plus 1. If, and then we've got our curlies. Let's put that in there. So we want AI object, and then oops, I is the one that we're currently playing with, and it's randomized stats. There you go. Because it's a ball, we're basically saying that if it has a value, which is if you want to say if it's not ticked, you'd do that at the front. You don't need to say like, you know, equals true. You don't need to do that. You can just do that and it works. So saying that as you're looping through all of those objects and the entities in the array. If any of those has got randomized stats ticked, then we're going to start randomizing some stats. Now we don't want to randomize the group name, we don't want to randomize the prefab, we don't want to randomize the tick box for randomized stats. So they're going to stay the same. And only these ones are going to be randomized. So now if we wanted to, let's grab that and do max AI equals random range. I want to put random range, so 1 to 30, close that off. Now we get red squiggly lines, and that's because it's read only. You remember up here we said it's public string and we're getting only. If we got rid of that and we said set, now it's fine. You know, you could leave your public open, but they say, like, you know, only use publics for setting if you really have to, and we don't really have to in this case. So what I'm going to use, you don't have to do this way, let's put that back. What I'm going to use here, I'm going to use a constructor. Okay, so we get the same name as this, we go public, and then we go that, and now we do our curlies. There we go. So let's put string name, and we're going to have game object. Oh, I can't call it object. Prefab. Call it prefab. Prefab, and int AI, max AI. I'm going to call this one int spawn rate. Let's put capitals in front of them. It's got capitals at the front. Make him sexy. Let's go sexy. Name. And int spawn amount and ball randomize stats. Okay. So we got all of that. Because we're still inside this class, we can actually affect these values by doing this. Isn't that clever? So we can say this dot group name equals name, and we'll go this dot prefab equals prefab, and we'll say this. Okay, let's pause it and I'll just fill in the rest, and rather than have you just sit and watch me doing it. That's better, isn't it, if I just did all that? So let's save it. Now I've got each of these. It's filling up one of these privates. That in turn fills in these publics that we can read later on. So now if we go down, let's just copy that. We'll go here. So instead of this one that we had, let's just comment that out for a second. We've got this. Now I'm going to grab these randoms, so we'll put that random range in there. We'll put, what was the spawn range? Do you remember what range was? 0 to 20, and that was 0 to 10. Okay, so this is going to be 0 to 20 random. Oops, that was 0 to 20, and this one was 0 to 10. Well, 1 to 10. So we want it to be a value of something. And this now is going to be, where is it? This fellow. So why did I copy that there when we had it here? I'm very clever, aren't I? That's better. So it's going to be the actual value that we already had there. This one is going to be its name. So it was AI group name. And this one is the prefab. So it was object prefab. AI dot object of the one we want. New AI objects. And we've got to put our semicolon at the end of that. The one that we're in, so the AI object I, for the one that we're in our for loop, we want to destroy whatever it's got in there and create a new entity for it, and we're going to copy its current values for what we can, and the rest will be random. That's why it says new. Basically, if you didn't put this in here and you left it, it will just revert back to the default value, which will be empty or 0 or 1 or whatever. It doesn't keep the original value unless you tell it to. Let's click save. If we pop into the editor, we'll see if it works. We've got no errors in the editor. Let's tick these two to be randomized. Let's not have this one randomized. Let's put the numbers we'll remember. So we'll put this at 10 and 10 and 10. It's easy to remember. It was the pufferfish. Pufferfish. Our clownfish, let's just put these down zeros and put these ones all the way up to the top. So clownfish and shark are randomized. Okie dokie. Let's click play. Oh, hang on. Yeah, let's go play. Now we've clicked play, you see that pufferfish wasn't randomized, so there's still 10, 10, 10. But clownfish, which is randomized, has now got 4, 3, 1. And randomized stats for the shark has got 24, 13, and 3. They kept their names. They would have kept their prefabs if we had dropped something in it. Take my word for it, please. And it shows you that we can actually randomize these numbers. So that's not bad, is it? Now there is another way of doing that without using a constructor. I don't actually know which way is better. You guys who know coding far better than I can let me know, but I make most of this stuff up as I go along. So we can make a public void, and we'll call this one set values, and put our curlies in there. And I'm just going to grab these three, because these are the ones that we're going to be able to edit. We'll get these three from here, and we'll put them there. So now I've got a public void set values, and it's going to be setting these three private variables from these arguments. Now, if I go down here and copy that, let's comment that out, and we'll say dot set values, because it's public. Remember, we can use this method, and brackets, and put our semicolon at the end. Let's grab these three random ranges of integers, put them in there. Now what this would do is, instead of creating a new entity in that array, overriding the old one, it's basically just going to change the three values of that item in the array that we're looking at. So, you know, it's the same kind of thing, it's the same end result as we had here, but a different way of doing it. It's not actually like destroying the last one and making a new one. So let's click save, and just to prove it works. Now before we click play, we'll see that we've got randomized stats ticked on these two. That's on zeros, that's on 30, 20 and 10, all the way to the end. Let's click play. Our pufferfish stay the same, and this randomized and this randomized. You see, it does actually work. So you can use a constructor basically if you wanted to create the whole object from code, and I'd use the public method if I just wanted to edit some of the values of an existing one. Right, one last thing in this tutorial. It's a bit longer than the last one, but I just wanted to cover a few of the techniques that we'll be using in this little mini series, and we'll probably use in later tutorials. I'm trying to be a little bit more structured now that I'm taking these tutorials a little bit more seriously than before. We've actually got a plan now, because we're working towards the game that we're going to make. So let's be sensible. And back inside here, I like to put everything in their own little methods. It makes things easier for my brain to manage. So now we're going to make a method for creating the empty game object. Is it world object or game object? World object groups. And I'm going to call this one void create AI groups. and then put our curlies in. And now let's go up and create a new private. So we'll say this is our empty game object to keep our AI in. That'll be private game object, and we'll call it AI underscore because it's private. Keep our naming conventions the same. Underscore AI group spawn. That's a good one, isn't it? And we'll go down here, and like we had here, we've got our for and our integer is I, and it's starting at 0, colon, and when I is less than our AI object dot count. So how many do we have in there? Okay, so that only 5. It could be 100, we just don't know. And then increment our I by 1 each time. Now put our curlies again. And now we're going to have our game object get created. So we've got our AI spawn group spawn equals new game object, and we want to give our new game object a name, and it's going to be the name of the item that we're currently going through. So it will be AI group name. Okay, and now so that is create a new game object, and now we want to make this new game object a child of the object that this script, this AI spawner, is sitting on. So we say the underscore AI group spawn dot transform dot parent. So we set the parent of this. So say this dot game object dot transform. I think. And actually, you can. Doesn't need to be all the way up in there, does it? Why does it? Why have I stuck it all the way up in there? It doesn't need to live up there. We could actually have him sitting in here. Is that like saving memory or anything? I don't know. Is that any better? Okay, so we only really need it while we're in here, so might as well just call it when we need it. So AI group spawn. AI group spawn is this new game object, and then we're going to make its parent this object that we're currently sitting on. It's transform. So let's click save, and don't forget we need to grab you and put you in our start there. So click save, and let's see if it works. Okay, we've got no errors in the console. That's always a good sign. We'll click play. We've got pufferfish, clownfish, and shark. We've got our lake and we've got our waypoints. Now when we click play, we should see 1, 2, 3 new objects appear here underneath the lake. Click play. There they are. It worked. Pufferfish, clownfish, and shark. Doesn't actually do anything, but they're there. You know they're there. And now we'll spawn all our pufferfish in here as children of pufferfish. All our clownfish will get spawned as children of clownfish. And all our shark will get spawned as a child of the shark. What do you guys think? A little bit more structured than I normally muck about with. Should I change my name to slightly less messy coder? Doesn't have the same ring to it. Needless to say, this is probably still very messy and not probably the most efficient way of doing stuff, but we're learning some new techniques and we're having fun. Are we having fun? Well, I'm having fun. So guys, well, next video we'll be spawning our little fishies and they'll move around. So we'll see you tomorrow night. If you do like it, don't forget, click that big juicy red subscribe button, ring the bell, tell your neighbours and your friends. Really do need your help. Let's get to 10,000 subs. We got to 1,000. The next milestone is that extra 0. So let's stick an extra 0 at the end. So remember, if you do like it, click it. Till next time. If you want to see more on the Ultimate Survival series, click on the links on the left side of your screen. And if you like these videos and you want to see more of them, please click subscribe. It's in that big button that's down below. And it's next to it, there's a little magic bell. And when you click that bell, it tells you when there's a new video out. So cheers, thanks for all the support.